Good morning, everybody. Rev.Dave Roach here again. Uh, Apologize for not uploading a video as of late. It's been quite a while. However, I been incredibly busy with work and family. You all can understand that, I'm sure. I want to talk to you tonight about a subject that has been brought to the forefront as of late. Topic that I like to call the feminizing or the weakening of the American male. Comes from a sermon topic that I've been kicking around called the last of the alpha males, if you will. And it's a funny thing that in society today that we see, especially in our culture, we see the progressive destruction of the man, and that is by design. It makes only logical sense for the enemy to attack the male figure in a household, especially if that household is functioning the way God has designed those households to function, with a strong male figure in the home. Everything in society today, in Hollywood and television, is geared to making the man of the house look like an idiot. You see it in sitcoms and television shows on a routine basis, to where the 6-year-old in the house, eventually by the end of the 30-minute program, takes complete control of the home, and the father has been labeled some doofus. And you can check that out yourself, and you've probably seen that. And it is an attempt to take what God had placed over the family in the order that He had given things, in an effort to destroy that. Because if I can take out the strong among you, it makes it very easy for me to predate on the weaker. There's nobody to defend, then obviously it becomes more feasible to not only attack, but make my attacks successful against a household, a country, communities, whatever. So there is a concerted effort to destroy the masculinity of what is supposed to be men today. We call them snowflakes, the men in name only, or men by genitalia only. It's a horrible thing. As I look through society, and those of your own family, you'll see it. The generations coming up now are far, far removed from what the generations were of 50, 60 years ago. The fact of business is that I believe that when my generation is gone, that I'm very concerned that there will not be enough men left to govern households and to show that positive male role model to the next generation. It's being killed off. Boys don't go outside and play anymore. They don't hunt, they don't fish, they don't go lift weights, they don't play sports to the degree that they one time did. We see that all throughout not only the world, but especially here in America. Now, simply put, men of this age are being made weak. They're being made passive. They're being made sissies, limp-wristed, if you will. And I grew up in the 80s. I was an 80s child. And I can look back just in the 30 years, I'm 38 now, on the slow degeneration of masculinity in the male portion of our species. And of course that has to be by design. Men are not brought up anymore. They're not made to be masculine. They're not made to be tough, if you will, for lack of a better word. Now, I'm not against a man being sensitive. As a matter of fact, my pastor used to tell me that it's always manly to cry. It's just never manly to whine. And we have bred a generation of whiners today. They have zero motivation, zero desire to do things that require you maybe to sweat a little bit. There's something to be said, brothers and sisters, for sweat equity, for having to work and having to labor, be it with your hands or your mind, to obtain a particular goal. We find this in the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel chapter 4, I believe, when you see the Israelites were finding themselves in this position too. They had become demasculinized and weak to a degree, and the Philistines had come against them. And the Philistines had heard about the great exploits of the God of Israel and the Israelites from years and years of verbal lineage, passing these information down, and they were deathly afraid of Israel. But Israel had fallen into a weak state. They had fallen into a state of apathy. And the Philistines, the leader said, "Oh, quit yourselves like men." In other words, shake off that fear, get up and fight. Now, we once again, as a nation, as a people, we have to get that masculinity back. There simply cannot be, everything cannot be feminine or feminized. That is a beautiful thing. Feminism looks good on a woman, but not on a man. Each poor person has to play their role, play their part. You cannot simply, for example, in a home, have two people, a man and a woman, who both act like a woman or a female acts. It doesn't work, and it is not conducive to the functioning of a home, to the rearing of children. And I blame a lot of this on the American male himself. A lot of the reason why these children are being raised feminized is because the men of my generation, or this next generation after me, have boned out and left. They've left the home. So no more do you have children seeing that positive male role model. The only role model they have is mama. Mama's had to be both mama and daddy. And I say that, obviously, there is those of you who will watch and say, well, that's not true in my house. Well, it may not be. But when I preach messages as a whole to fit the entirety of society. And no one can argue that society in a whole has become feminized. Oh no, people like myself and uh, those of you probably who are watching me are a dying breed. And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that I can take 10 children the age of, let's say, 12 to 15 years old now, of male children. And some of them have never known a hard day's labor. Some of them never have taken a walk through the woods. All they've done is play PlayStation, sit at home, playing games, being involved with this modern technology. Some of them never swung an axe. They've never mended a fence. They've never even so much. Don't even have to do that. They've never even so much as hardly darkened the outside of their home and done anything that has any masculinity associated with it. They simply haven't been taught. No one has had that conversation that the leaders of the Philistines had with their army and said, hey, quit yourselves like men. In other words, stand up and start acting like you have some testicular fortitude. It's a sad thing. So, women of this day have had to bear the load of rearing the children, taking care of the home. They've been both people. Now, fellas, you always wanting to get the girl. Let me tell you how that works. A woman is looking for someone to make her feel secure. Secure not just financially, even though it's a big part of it, but emotionally, of course, and physically. No woman wants a weak man, weak mentally, spiritually, or physically. In other words, they don't want a punk. Now, it used to be that boys could go into the military and have that thing reinforced in them. But there's been an attempt now to take our troops, the people who are tasked with defending our nation, defending your liberties, and feminize them. We're allowing transgenders in the military, homosexuals. Got no problem you being a homosexual. But it is feminizing at least 50% of them, because somebody's got to play the role of the woman, right? Absolutely. So in the last few minutes, I'll tell you that the prognosis is not good. The more this culture is bred into our children, the less and less of men will be produced. They're even chemically castrating children with these psychotropic medications from 6 years old. Our enemies have stated that how they will beat us is through the wombs of their women. They'll simply breed us out. When you look at the birth rates in this country, people are getting way ahead of us, brothers and sisters. Now, simply put, we need to stand up and quit ourselves like men once again. And the knowledge that we have, pass it on to the next generation. Till next time, God keep you and bless you. Love you in the Lord.